time and prep work, you can turn your pool into a backyard showpiece you'll enjoy for years to come. You'll need a few key supplies to do the job right, including INSL-X Waterborne pool paint, along with a mild rain-free forecast for 3 to 4 days. If you're repainting, first you'll need to drain and pump out the water and scoop out any debris. For previously painted pools, use a citrus-based cleaner, scrub with a long handle brush, and then thoroughly rinse with a pressure washer. When repainting a pool, scrape off any loose paint and sand the entire surface with 150 to 180 grit sandpaper. Once sanded, remove all dust. New, uncoated pools must be etched with muriatic acid. Be sure to use proper protective equipment. Then rinse out the pool and let dry for at least 24 hours. Any cracks need to be patched with compound, smooth with a scraper, and then feather the edges with a sponge and let dry per manufacturer instructions. Cover or tape off drains and tile edges and remove ladders and anything else you don't want painted. Wait for a dry weather forecast for painting between 50 and 90 degrees. Mix all gallons of paint in a large container and stir thoroughly. Cut in first around edges with a brush, then use a short nap roller and start in the deep end, working your way to the shallow end. Avoid painting in direct sunlight. Follow the sun and paint areas that are shaded. Allow 4 to 6 hours to dry before painting a second coat. Exterior pools need 7 days of dry weather to fully cure and 14 days for indoor pools. If it rains while the paint is drying, don't cover the pool. Just pump the water out and add a day of curing time. Then you can fill it with water and enjoy your freshly painted oasis.
Hi, I'm Garrett with RainGuard. Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to cover the essentials of our project sealers. This video is going to cover everything from our concrete, brick, stucco, stone, paver, and paint sealer products. We're also going to cover the tools you're going to need, how to apply them, and what the benefits are of using a 100% penetrating sealer like ours. Before we get into the details, we're going to cover on why using a penetrating sealer is ideal for your home. Most common sealers are actually acrylic based, and those acrylic films sit on top of the surface instead of penetrating. That means there's much more maintenance. They can crack, peel, haze up, delaminate, or make the surface slippery when wet. 100% penetrating sealer like our project sealers don't have any of those downsides. They last for 5 years, protect from freeze thaw, salt, moisture intrusion, and many types of stains. So now we're going to talk about the tools you're going to need for your project. We're going to cover everything from bigger jobs to smaller jobs so you can get an idea of what you're going to need. For a bigger job, we always recommend a pump sprayer. This is ideal for large applications because it's going to be easier to load the material, apply it, and saturate the surface generously. Remember, these are penetrating sealers. You want to saturate the surface until it can't penetrate anymore. If you have something smaller, that's where we recommend foam brushes. These are going to be ideal because they're going to soak up material, so when you brush them out, it deposits enough so it saturates the surface. What's not ideal is a bristle brush because it's not going to absorb enough material to thoroughly saturate it. If you want to roll it, foam or fuzzy rollers are ideal as well, as they'll soak up a lot of material. As you roll it, it'll deposit it and thoroughly saturate. You will want a container for brushing and rolling. That way you can contain the material and not get spills everywhere. And if there's any surfaces that you don't want to apply the material to, we recommend tarping it off. Once you have all the tools you need, you're ready to get started on your project. Before you apply your project sealer, you're going to first want to do a splash test. It's a very easy process where you just simply take some water, soak it on the surface. If it's darkening and absorbing, then it's ready to be applied. If it beads up and rejects the water and does not darken, then it's not time to apply our project sealer and wait till next season. If you're using the ready-to-use material, simply pour it into your container and start applying. But if you're using the concentrate, we do recommend diluting it first appropriately before you apply the material. In this case, we're going to demonstrate a foam brush to simulate a smaller application by brushing. Picture the surface as being a sponge that's dry, that needs to soak up lots of material. Make sure the brush is soaked with enough product to fill it up. because like the application, you want to fill the surface up with the material. If you're doing vertical, dripping is ideal, and you typically want it to drip about 6 to 8 inches from your contact point. Because you want to fill the surface up with the material, brushing can take a lot longer. This is why for larger applications, we recommend using a pump sprayer, because you really have to thoroughly saturate the surface and make sure it's full of the material. You want that rundown effect, otherwise it's not thoroughly saturated. This would be very time consuming for a larger project, so that's why we recommend a pump sprayer. But if you're doing something smaller and intimate, like a few pavers or handrail, this would be a quick way to do it. To demonstrate the roller, you want to make sure it's thoroughly saturated, just like the sponge. Dripping is good, it tells you you've saturated the roller, and then you want to start rolling. Again, you still want that nice rundown effect, and this still can be time consuming, so we really recommend using this on only small projects, but it is certainly achievable for smaller applications. The roller does tend to be quicker than a brush, but again, that's up to you to decide depending on the size of application. You want to give it about 5 to 10 minutes to dry before applying your second coat as well. Make sure it gives enough time for the material to penetrate, saturate into the substrate. Then we'll demonstrate why a bristle brush is not reasonable to use at all, because it won't soak up any material and would be extremely time consuming. Notice how there's really no rundown effect. It's hard to achieve. Although the bristle brush is getting the surface wet, it's not getting enough depth of penetration to sufficiently seal the surface. That's why we recommend using a foam roller or foam brush. That way it can absorb and penetrate to the depth that we need it to. An alternative method for bigger applications, as this would be very time consuming unless it is small, would be a pump sprayer. These are very simple to use and simple to load. Simply take the top off, load the material in. A quick pro tip is turning it to the side. If you turn it this way, it will gulp, versus sideways, it'll cleanly come out of the bottle. After loading your pump sprayer, secure the lid back onto it. Give it a couple good pumps to pressurize. And then simply saturate the surface. While you're using the pump sprayer, you'll notice how quickly it starts to saturate and run down the surface. This is going to be much quicker. We can do all 3 sections in less time than it took to do 1. After your second coat is dried about 1 to 2 hours, depending on temperature and humidity, you can start walking, driving, or moving furniture on it.